I have no filters myself, as you've probably heard. Um, Beyond that, the stage is yours, and this is not about me. This is about you. I want to hear your story. I want to get your story out. The fact that you've been around the block a time or two, probably a time or two or four, and you've got some stories, you've got experience. That's one of the biggest things that some of the young folks that I've gotten a chance to speak to have been thankful for, that they're getting perspective not just from the team lead in the shop or the senior tech in the shop or their service manager. They're getting more perspectives from more leaders and more technicians in different areas. So it's not this one jackass here or this one awesome dude here. There's a diversity of people in our shops, leading our shops, investing time, energy, and effort in our shops, that if they feel like they're in a bad place, they know that there are good places to go to with folks like yourself that are willing to put in the time, the energy, and effort, and train and mentor and so on and so forth. So Tony, I appreciate you being on the show. I really, really do. And
Me, I really appreciate it. Is my shirt okay? I can put a Germain shirt on.
that's good. You know what? It doesn't bother me at all. Considering there might be some folks that weren't born when that came out. That'll
Well,
be
I'm like Ted Flintstone. I got 12 of these shirts. I wear one every day. I've had
beautiful,
five of these. I've had five Mark 8s. So I love the car.
beautiful. They're not slow either. They're comfortable. They're quick. They're not fast, but they're not slouch. Especially considering their sizes. And I recall a time, now this is going back a ways, when I had my SRT4 Neon, and there was a gentleman that was in the car club that had a Neon to start and then transitioned to out of Mopar, and I can't remember what it's called. It's not the SHO, because that was the four. But what was the Mercury version? Wasn't there like
Uh,
a
the Marauder.
Marauder? He had one of those,
I'm dying for one
and
of those.
it was such a it was the most inconspicuous sleeper I think I could ever have come across. There's a
Oh,
couple out there that kind of come in that category, but not too many have that. It's basically a cop car, right? But it's a full on. It looks like a Lincoln Town car, kinda, but it's not. It's Mercury Marauder,
yeah. Yeah.
and it's badged. It's badged in such a way, and its lines are in such a way that it just looks like a nice car.
It's
And
wicked.
then all of a sudden, it's wicked quick, wicked quick.
Yeah, I'm looking
So
for one right now. Yeah, I've had 486 cars in my lifetime. So
what?
the 486 cars. Yeah.
Okay,
I
I
love
thought my
cars.
number was big at 30. Like I'm 40 years old and I've had 30 cars. So I thought my number was big, and Mike, four. Okay, you're gonna
When
have
I
to
was
list off. So what are your
when I was
top five?
16, I had nine in my yard. My mom sold them all one day when I went to school.
You and nine. Okay, so what are your top five?
Uh, Mark 8 is one for certain. It's an incredible car. I love the Fox body a lot. Uh, my favorite looking car of all time is a 77 Trans Am. Beautiful car. I've had a couple of those. Uh,
Agreed.
love the Grand Prix. I had a 69 LJ. It was a pretty awesome car too. And I had some Novas. Love the Nova too. Had a 70.
Nice.
I had a 70 with a 427, 435 horse vet motor in it.
Wow.
Rare engine. I ended up I sold the motor for 20 grand years ago and kept the body and sold the body to somebody else.
Wow. Those are some nice cars, my friend.
I've had some nice stuff. Well, being 62 is like, man, I've had a lot of these cars. It's like, man, and now you can't touch it. Even shells, you can't touch it.
No, no, I saw, what was it? I saw a little clip on YouTube, on a YouTube short somewhere, and I wasn't smart enough to click the button. And this gentleman was talking about how they found General Lee number one, and it was like in some backyard, like super duper backyard, but this individual had a whole bunch of cars all over everywhere. There were trees growing through the hoods, and there was things so deep into the ground because it had just sunk into the mushy ground that you almost could only just see the roofs. And lo and behold, they ended up finding generally number one in this yard. But just thinking that, those really rare finds, and if I understand correctly, it sold like as is for $1 million, and it was in horrific condition, but
Oh
it was
yeah.
generally number one.
Well,
And to think number ones are so valuable. There was a another one on. I think Adam LZ is in Canada this weekend. I think it's his LZ tour or whatever. I'm not sure if you know who Adam LZ is. Anyway, he's a drifter, but he came to Canada this weekend, and he's actively filming, and he's went to a buddy's shop in Canada, and this gentleman has VIN 1 of the first EG hatch Civic in his shop, completely covered, because they're produced not that far from here. About 45 minutes away is Alliston, Ontario, is where they're produced, and he has VIN 1, and it's got 12 kilometers on it.
I started off in the business of Honda. They had a Accord, Civic, and Prelude in 1981. That's all they
Mm-hmm.
had. I sold the first CRX sold in the U.S. when I was selling cars. Loved the CRX car
What?
too. The very first one. It was an automatic car. It came in off the truck with a cracked windshield. This is cool. Sold to this lady that had a Prelude. She had a 81 Prelude. She bought this 84 CRX automatic, 9SI, and had a crack in the windshield. So we got the windshield in. She came in to get the windshield put in. The glass company yanked it out, opened the new box, and it was broke. We waited 7 months for a new one.
7 months for glass.
Yeah,
Wow.
but the CRXS
Wow.
Auto is definitely in my top five.
That's crazy. So that's
My
going back to your
nephew,
first. So
go ahead.
yeah,
My nephew is a had a neon hot rod neon one that you mentioned there.
yeah.
He had
Did he
one of
have one
those.
of the first? Did he have first gen?
He had one. He had it built. I think it had a zipper on it. He overhauled this thing like 15 times. Uh, but yeah, he finally got rid of it. He's got a Fox body now.
Okay, okay. Now, that said, that leads us into kind of like our first question here. Uh, what was the reason that you got into automotive? Like, what was it a family thing or what?
Well, it's funny, from the time I was 16 to 18, I had like 300 jobs. I had one job at a parts store for like 3 minutes. Uh, but so I'm looking for a job, and my career of choice was to be a police officer because I have a lot of respect for police officers. I understand what they do, and I love people. Uh, so I didn't go that way. My wife got pregnant at the time, no fault of mine, of course, and you know, so I had to find me a job, and my brother was a worked at the Honda store in Fairfield, and he said, "Come down here and apply for a car washer." And I said, "Okay." So I went down and applied. I got the job, and I was there 10 years, and I went from washing cars to selling cars. Sold an insane amount of cars. I don't know how that is, but they just bought from me. And then I actually sales is my first love. I got out of sales because of some bad advice. They had closers back then. Thank God they don't have them anymore. Uh, but they take your keys, won't let you go, all that. But that's the way they did it in the '80s. And I wanted to be a closer. Well, I was a young man. You know, I made $84,000 in 1984 selling cars. Uh, that was a lot of money. Uh, and I said, I want to be a closer. Well, they said, you have to walk the lot 5 more years before you be a closer. Well, we didn't have internet then, so you had to walk the lot. I wore cowboy boots when I sold. And
They had
I'm
tap.
not doing this. Um, so I got out of sales into service and road service and did that for a while. And I ran a reconditioning center. They had 8 stores sent all their reconditioned cars to us for reconditioning. I handled all the reconditioning, all the cars, managed that. And
Mm-hmm.
then I left there and went to their Toyota store up the street, and I was a lead tech for a while, and really enjoyed that. It was a team shop, uh, and I really enjoyed that. Learned a lot about that. I actually went to auto mechanics in high school, and my wife did too, if you can believe that, which is really unusual back in the day. Um, but yeah, she could twist a wrench or two back then.
Nice. How long were you? Sorry, I might have missed the time there. How long were you turning wrench as a lead tech?
About a year and a half or two, and then I hurt my back, and I thought, man, I can't do this, so I got out of it. Uh, where did I go? Oh, from there, I went to a Chevrolet store. They hired me because their customer satisfaction scores on a scale of 0 to 100 was 36. Uh, Chevrolet said, you need to hire somebody to take care of this, or else we're taking your franchise. So they hired me. Uh, and I worked for the sales department. They had no delivery system. It's funny. Uh, if when they sold a car, they hand somebody the keys that it's out there. And I'm like, really? I said, you need a delivery system here. You need to walk the customer out, walk around the car. Uh, get the customer, make love with that car. Uh, it's
Uh-huh.
their new car, and make an ordeal out of it. I worked with sales service. We did new owner clinics. I started those. Um, I call all the customers at sales, all the customers in service. In 1 year, our score went up to 92. Uh, and then they fired me.
Nice.
They didn't need me.
Yeah, that's an impressive. That's considering you only really changing one process, even though you're really changing a whole bunch, but changing one process and making it more customer centric. Making it about them is how important that is. And it doesn't matter whether you're in sales or service. Making the whole sale, the whole purchase, the whole result about the customer is really
But it
important.
certainly is. That's the biggest part of it. It's the whole experience. Um, that's everything as far as I'm concerned. You know, I being a time guy, I watch seconds. So that's when I really got involved with what I'm doing now at Germain. They hired me to put warranty claims in
Mhm.
because I managed at a Ford store, parts, service, and body, all 3 departments. We had 2 stores. I managed them both. And in 17, I got like a 10-second goodbye speech, and that was it. We had the best year ever. That's okay. Best thing that ever happened to me. Uh, so I ended up going to Fortune and Collision and doing estimating, and they loved me there. I really enjoyed that too, but I get lost sometimes. So eventually I go to Wyoming, work out there. I work in Louisiana. I work down there. That was not pleasant at all. Um, then I ended up coming back here, back to Fortune and Collision. They wanted me to work there. They called me when I was on my way back from Louisiana. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on my way home." It's funny you should ask. He goes, "Can you be to work Monday?" I said, "Certainly." So I drove 500 miles in 2 days, and I was back to work Monday morning. Then they hired me at Germain to put in warranty claims because that's what I did also in Middletown because I wore a lot of hats there. The owner, like, he
Mhm.
wanted to wear a lot of hats. So I wore lots of hats. Uh, my boss hired me to put in warranty claims, and I worked there doing that for about 6 months. And he goes, "Man, we're not utilizing you. We need to do a little more." Uh, Here's my thing. Anything that I can do right now to save advisors time, to save text time, anything that I can do all day, I save time. Time is money. Uh, if I can save a tech 10 minutes a day, look what it adds up to in time. If he's efficient, 140% efficient, it's going to make him a lot of money. If I save the advisors time, they're going to get approvals quicker, which keeps the tech working. Uh, and so that's what I really am into is the time part of it. Then I started getting involved with younger technicians, which is a huge passion of mine. Uh, I love younger technicians. In fact, I was female that does my car. She's my personal tech there. Hannah, she's awesome, and she works on mine. And I won't let anybody else touch it because she's very good. Uh, but I have a lot of passion for young technicians, and I understand what they're up against. It's real important that you understand what you're getting into, what because some of them are flat rate now, some of them are going to be flat rate. Um, they need to understand the advantages and disadvantages of flat rate. Uh, one
Hmm.
broken bolt, don't let it ruin your week. It can cause a bad day. It can cause a bad half day. Don't roll that through the week. You got to let that go. Uh, some guys will let that go for the week, and it's like, well, I had this broken bolt on Tuesday. It took me 4 hours. Well, it's okay. What about the other 4 days? What about that? You got to put that stuff behind you.
Hmm.
Uh, and younger technicians don't get that. Um, and
It's hard, man, because I see it in coaching too. They get in their heads. I've been there. I've been that tech. I've let stuff like that get to my head and let it completely
they
destroy
can
a
do it.
week. You gotta coping mechanisms to get yourself out of that headspace. You could have like two or three of those kinds of things happen in a row, things that aren't exactly, or most importantly, not always in your control. Stuff's gonna break. Like you get 10-year-old plastic,
Oh
plastic's
yeah,
gonna break. No matter how many times that you've done it, no matter how good you are, if the plastic wants to break, the
it's
plastic's
gonna.
gonna break. If you get a 15-year-old truck that's been in the salt belt for 15 years, got 200,000 miles on it, stuff is gonna
Yeah,
break. You're gonna have to get out the drill. You're gonna have to get out the tap and die set. You're probably gonna have to get out the liquid wrench. You're going to have to use all of the skills at your disposal to be able to get there. And if you don't have a lot of those skills because you're a young mechanic and you've only been in the trade a year or 2 years and you don't have all of those skill set, the first skill set you need to learn before you learn all of the hows, you're going to learn the whys, because you want to know why you're doing that. You got to understand that you got to get your headspace right, so that the last thing you want to do is over treat something that's broken off, and now you've
yeah,
hardened it, making your job three, four
yeah,
times harder,
absolutely.
right? The last thing you want to do is get in your head and go, maybe this will work, maybe this will work, maybe this will work, instead of going, this will
Yeah,
work,
uh,
right? Those confidence things are you going to work on first before you really work on the skills, because the skills will just come. It's an iterative
yes.
process,
You have to
right?
have an understanding.
We literally live an iterative process day in, day out.
It's so important that there's a thorough understanding of how it works and what's going on, and you got to let it roll off. Like I said, you can't let that. You can't. It's a mindset. Everything is a mindset. It's a when it comes right down to it, you got one person. It's you. If there's a problem, chances are you're the problem. I hate to say it, but it is. It's a mindset. You got to keep your mind right. I'm a big movie fan. Cool Hand Luke. Got to keep your mind right. Uh, your mind's got to be
Mm-hmm.
right. It's a mindset. You cannot let things defeat you. You just cannot do that. It costs you money.
100%. It will cost you more money than you can imagine long term, because you're not just destroying your week. And that's what some don't truly understand. When you mentally allow yourself to degrade into depression, or even degrade into negativity long term, it's like you said, finding minutes in our industry, specifically in fixed, finding minutes can make you a lot of
Absolutely.
money. But every minute you waste is like not depositing into an investment, right? The concept is, I think if you start investing something like $100 a month at the age of 18, you'll have like $1 million by the time you're was it 40
Right.
or
I
something
didn't
like
go
that,
to
because of
that.
compound interest over 22 years. Something like that. I don't remember the exact math, but the idea is, if you start investing at 18, you can continue investing until you're 40, $100 a month, and then stop investing at 40. And by 65, you have more than enough money to retire with. But if you don't start investing until you're 40, you have to invest like $3,500 a month until you're 65 to get the same amount
Absolutely.
of money.
Certainly do.
Like how much you need to invest between the two is the same amount, but it's so much harder to invest 3,500 a month versus $100 a month for early. So the same thing applies in mechanic work. If you don't positively invest in yourself every single minute, every single day, over and over and over again, positive investment, positive reinforcement, you're just not investing yourself long term. You're going to find yourself bitter. You're going to find yourself resentful. You're going to find yourself being angry at flat rate if you happen to be in a flat
Yeah.
rate shop,
Yeah.
right? When I know you can make a whole lot of money on flat rate. You can. I've seen it. I've done it. But there's a whole lot of folks out there that unfortunately have been in positions where they haven't been able to.
Well, it's a mindset, like I said. You got to get your mind right. It's all on how you got to have a good attitude. Attitude is everything. You cannot let stuff
Mhm.
defeat you. You got to have a good attitude.
Absolutely.
Let it roll off. Keep on moving. And it's real important to mentor these young technicians. Uh, they're gonna be full-fledged technicians someday. And wouldn't it be a great feeling for you to mentor somebody, and then 20 years later they look and say, you're the reason that I'm successful today. That's what it's all about. That's worth more
Oh,
than money. That's so much satisfaction there for a young technician to tell you,
mhm.
hey, I appreciate what you did for me. I'm successful because of you.
Oh man, it's I think I've never had that phrase said to me. I've had lots of thank yous for what you do, which I'm very appreciative of, and I think I get the same kind of fizz of jubilation and happiness out of that because I think it's part of what we are in this industry. We, as mechanics, I think once you become a mechanic, and that's from the day you decide to be one, you walk into your first store, whatever, whether it's a dealership, independent franchise, or backyard, whatever the case may be, when you decide to become a mechanic, it is part of your duty as a mechanic to then train other mechanics
Absolutely.
once you are capable. I
You
think
don't
that
want to
is
work.
our
You don't want
duty.
to. If
And
somebody's a
the
hack, you
phrase
got
goes,
to teach them not to be. You don't want to work around hacks. Teach them to be technicians,
no, to be
right?
professional, to be polite, to be courteous, to communicate, to be the kind of person, not just mechanic, but be the kind of person that grows other mechanics. Be the kind of person that other mechanics look up to, not for the bragging rights of being the person people look up to, but because that means that you're training other good people. You're training people to reinforce the values and the ethics and the moral virtues that we as technicians so badly need in this industry to be
That's a huge
successful
fact.
as a whole, not just our not just our own paycheck, our own family, but the entire industry. If the entire industry is so incredibly negative, all we're going to get
Exactly.
is
It's
negative
better than it
back.
used to be, but
If
it's
we
not as
are
good
that
as it could be.
before, we're going to get lots of positive back.
You know, it's
Right,
just not as good
exactly.
as it could be. You
Exactly.
got salespeople up front. The sales department thinks techs sit back there and collect money all day. Then you got techs in the back thinking salespeople sit up there and collect money all day. Yeah, neither one of those is the case. Uh,
Mhm.
Technicians work very hard for the money, very hard. It's a stress game. It is in the head. That's where it's at. You can teach your hands to do it, but your head is where it's at. You got to have your head right. And people don't understand the stresses that there is being a technician today. The complexity of cars is getting worse and worse.
It's getting incredibly complex and it's getting more dangerous. I think that's one of the things that is just flies under the radar currently. It's not known truly the danger that mechanics put themselves in now working with HEVs, EVs, and so forth. We're starting to get, we've been working with propane a long while, and I think folks undervalue how
You
dangerous
built
working
the
with
city with
propane
propane.
is. Propane's out, like you you clock the valve wrong, and guess what? That you got a bomb on your hands. Literally, gasoline is safer than
Completely.
propane in that regard, right? You've got a compressed cylinder. It literally you now walk into a big box store, find a big box store anywhere that sells propane, and it says do not bring cylinders inside. Because if you take it inside, you're literally
Yeah,
walking
yeah,
around the storm
yeah,
with a bomb, right? It's possible. And mechanics everywhere that are working on forklifts, working on big vehicles, or even small vehicles if they happen to be old,
yeah.
working on stuff that's been converted to propane. Marshall
Another,
Sheldon works on propane on a fairly regular basis. We've got hydrogen coming in, right? We've got hydrogen coming. We got Toyota stores working with hydrogen. The
GM started
Hindenburg
that
was
years
a
ago. Yeah,
thing.
hydrogen. Yeah,
Like, right? So the I don't think it's truly understood even by leadership. Truly understood by leadership to understand how much danger the majority of their technicians are in. What happens if a battery goes up in flames in the middle of
well,
a shop, right? There there are racetracks, right? There are racetracks across the planet that are banning EVs because they do not have the
oh
appropriate
yeah, we
equipment
got
to
our
put
first.
out an
I
EV
remember we got
fire.
our first hybrid in when I was at the Ford store, and the battery, and we had to buy special tools. So they buy one of the tools is a big ass hook, uh, and I said, "What the hell is this for?" They said, "Because if somebody gets caught on one of those things, you can't grab them. You got to get the hook and pull them off." And that's a fact.
It sounds like a bad joke, right? It sounds like a really bad joke. The hook that the candy big old candy cane hook you used to see in
Yeah,
the comedies
right.
in what was it, the 30s, 40s, 50s, when they were really awful on stage because it was live, they hook them off stage.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we now use as a
yeah. A lot of people
safety tool
don't.
to pull
A lot of
somebody
people don't
off
think about that. It's
an
like if you get a
EV.
guy that's pride himself on a hybrid car, you can't grab that guy. You got to get a hook and yank him off of there. Uh, it's scary, and that,
Hmm.
people need to understand that there needs to be a lot
And
more training. Particularly now we got total EVs with Lordy mercy. I love the EV performance. I'm not against EV. I'm a performance guy. I like speed, so I love the speed of an EV. Uh, I'm not
Mhm.
sure that the U.S. is ready for them with the charging stations, but I don't know. That's another issue. But I live in a town of 62,000. We got 12 chargers here in town. Uh, so, I don't know. It's like, okay,
I think if I kind of count. So you know, where I live, there's about 22,000 people living in here, and I can't remember the last time I saw a charger. So our main grocery stores don't have charging stations. The big box stores around them don't have charging stations. There might be at the local Canadian Tire because they also have a shop out back, but if they have a charger, it'll be out back, which I've never seen. None of the restaurants or strip malls around that I know
not
of
many out
have
there.
charging stations. I know there's a charging station in, like the town that's the next town over, which is about 10 miles away, 16 kilometers, give or take. I know they literally put in last summer, they put in a big old charging station. So I think it'll charge eight all at once, but they put in this I think a big old
Oh yeah.
transformer. It's got to be 10 by 10, easily 10 by 10 out in the parking lot to be able to charge probably eight cars all at once. But I think that's probably the only public charger that I can think of
Well, I see one at work,
in 45,000 people.
but I don't. In fact, I'm not sure that I've seen one away from work. Driving down the road, I'm not sure that I have. We have at work because we do EV, but the performance is
Hmm.
incredible. I'll tell you that. Man, it's like driving a slot car. Oh my God, uh,
Oh yeah.
they are a lot of fun, but daggone. Uh, well, Ford made a big deal about hooking up with Tesla, the same cords and so forth. What some people don't understand is Ford's paying Tesla for that. It's
Hmm.
not free. Uh, you know, that's why I'm with you. You can use our charger. No, 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 no. That ain't didn't work that way. Ford's paying Tesla for that. So he understands how to make some money.
True. Very, very true. And there's lots that there's a lot of folks that have lots to say about both Ford and Tesla, well as Mr. Musk himself. But at the end of the day, there's innovation. What is his phrase? For his mindset, at least specifically, we're talking about going to Mars and being an interplanetary species. I think his phrase is the rate of innovation has to accelerate in order for us to be an interplanetary species. And he uses that same kind of phraseology for not just SpaceX, but also for Tesla. The rate of innovation needs to accelerate. So, whatever is required to grow the business, to get better product, to make better product, to produce more product more efficiently, whatever. Like you said yourself, finding ways to find time, save time, whether it's for technicians, advisors, apprentices, leadership, sales, whatever you can do to save time and get the same result or better, you're going to do. I think his methodology of that is the same. He's looking for how do we do this inexpensively with the same quality or better quality? How do we do this faster with the same
Faster is
quality or
always
better
better.
quality? Um, and some,
Man, some of these
well,
cars I see
no,
today
faster
running
is not
over,
always
like,
better.
oh
I
my God.
agree. Um,
Yeah, look, I don't know how long it takes to build a car these days. It looks like in some cases, shoot, I bet the 20 Explorer, I bet they built in 15 minutes. They had, they had a lot of trouble with those. But, you know,
well, the last time I looked up how long it took to build things was like 20 years ago, and I think it was like 27 hours by the time something went through one end of Alliston to the other end of Alliston to build a Civic. It
well,
was like
it's pretty
27
crazy.
hours to build a Civic or
It's
something like
hard
that.
telling.
What is it
Light,
now? I don't.
very fast. It shows, unfortunately. Uh, you know, it makes it harder on technicians. Uh, some of the things that you used to be able to do that you can't do today. Uh, just to give you an example, uh, there's a sensor on the fuses back in the uh, early 10, 12, as an works the climate control, senses
Mhm.
something. I forget what the name of it is. You had to pull the dash out to get to it. It's a little sensor. The AC and climate control wouldn't work without it. You had to remove the dash, put this thing in. Uh, man, that's a little much, don't you think? You know, couldn't they
Yeah,
locate that somewhere else?
very much so. But it means that somebody from the whoever deals with assembly automation, packaging assembly, figuring out what modules need to happen in order for it to get assembled easy and quickly and so forth. They aren't talking with people on the engineering side who are looking at repair processes and building repair processes and
Oh
so
yeah,
forth. It's
not
like
yeah,
the
sure.
two aren't
But how
necessarily
fast can we
talking to
build
each
this?
other
That was what
because
the technicians need to do.
you have a
How fast
sensor.
can we build them? How many can we sell? Uh, and then technicians are stuck dealing with this stuff, and it's difficult. It's mind-boggling.
Mhm.
We're talking about technicians. I was going to bring this up and didn't. Uh, you know, there's levels of competence. One level of competence, the highest level of competence is unconscious competence. It's, sports players do this. You do something so much over and over and over, your body don't even think about it. Your mind don't even think about it. Your body just does it. It happens. It's unconscious competence. Uh, Technicians today, uh, work on your trade. Work on what you do. Uh, Hey, it can pay a lot of money, but you got to put a lot of work in. It just don't come to you. Uh, Work hard. Uh, Apply yourself. Really work at it. Get that unconscious competence level, where your mind don't think about it. Your body just does it. It's an amazing thing.
That That's a great way to sum that up. Unconscious confidence. Things like understanding exactly where the tools are in your toolbox. So when you're face down on top of an engine over top of if you happen to be doing engine work and you're working in a great
Creeper.
shop and you happen to have
Yeah.
one of those
Above
engine
the creeper,
I can't
he
remember
knows.
what it was called. A buddy of mine had one. It was like it looked like you were walking the plank, but you were laying on it on top of the engine,
Right.
and it was on a dolly, so you could actually push and pull yourself in and out, right? But you could reach behind you, you can put your hand on your toolbox and pick out the 3/8 10 mil, the 3/8 12 mil without looking. So you didn't stop looking at the bolt you were looking at, because if you look, you knew if you looked away, it would
Exactly.
take you 5 more minutes to find the damn thing. So you put a reach your hand behind your head and get your socket down there, get it on your ratchet, and away you keep going. That confidence, know exactly where things are, when they are, how they are, know exactly what step is, so you don't have to come off that gangplank, as it were, to find out what the next steps are, because you know what the next steps are, with the next tool, the next size, when to put the extension
Exactly.
on, how to put the extension on, whatever,
Well,
whatever, whatever.
yeah,
Great way to sum that
unconscious
up.
competence is what
Unconscious
they call that.
confidence. That's
And I bowled semi-professionally for a long time. I bowled 100 games a week in the 80s, um, and I got to. It's crazy. Now scores are a lot higher today with the higher powered bowling balls and so forth. I was averaging like 220. I won a tournament in Las Vegas um, at the Showboat Invitational, a couple others, pro-ams. Um, and um, but it was, I could walk in there. It didn't matter what lanes, where the oil was, whether anything. My body just did it. And technicians can do the same thing. Uh, I know you think it's ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous. Uh, you're saving time here. Time is money. Time is money. When you're a technician, seconds count.
mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
work at it, work hard at it. If you think when you get good at it, get better at it. Teacher told me in high school, he said, good, better, best, never let it rest until good is better and better is best. Uh, that's a fact. You just got,
Whoa,
yeah,
that's a keeper
yeah.
right there.
Uh,
I've
I
not
was,
heard that
let's see, how
before.
was I then? 14, 15, as a teacher. Yeah. Uh, You remember things as time goes on, but, it,
Wow. I'm gonna have to get that on a banner or something. That's
well,
that needs to
it
go up on
is
my wall. I think that needs to go up there. That is like a full-on daily
It is
motivational
such a
speech.
it is such a journey, um, and I love this business so much. I love the mechanical end so much. I love both ends really, but you know, it's my passion. Uh, I want to see everybody succeed. That's why I'm on here. I want to talk to people. And you want to talk to me. You asked me to talk, but it's real important to me. If you can pick one thing up from this episode that'll help you, then I did my job tonight.
Absolutely. There's going to be about a dozen things in a very short period of time that just about anybody can pick up from somewhere and help them out next. And I really appreciate that. Tony, I really appreciate you taking a minute and give me a few minutes on a wonderful evening. And appreciate your time, and thanks for coming out.